We finished off by creating the V-block, the clamp and the screw, and now we're going to do the drawing of these items. I did notice in the last video that some of my icons are a little bit on the small side, and likewise the assembly navigator and part navigator were a little bit small, so I made these all a little bit bigger. So to make these a little bit bigger, we can right click in this area, go customize, comes up with this, and then we've got different tabs and things we can have on or off, different shortcuts that we can do, and on this last tab we've got the ribbon size and all the sizes of these icons and things where we can set individually different sizes. So I've adjusted these now to the medium from small, just so they show up a little bit better in the video. Right, so the first thing to do would be to open a seed file or a start part for the drawing itself, and I've created this border. So basically in this border, what you want to do is set the text height for all the dimensions, for section lines, the section line arrow sizes and things like this. So we can set that up in this border and then use this as a starting part or a seed file for creating the drawing. So the drawing file is a separate file to the model files or the assembly file. So we'll show you how to do that. Right, so at the minute we've been using the modelling mode. So let's go back to assembly 1. So on assembly 1 we've been using the modelling mode here, NX11 modelling mode. Now we're going to be using the modelling mode and drafting mode. It's very easy to get confused on what file you're working on and what mode you're in, so you need to be a little bit careful. So let's go to the drawing border. So this is the border. We can save this to be the save as, so I want to save it now to be the drawing V-block or something similar. Let's go OK to that. So the idea here is you'd create a drawing border probably for sheet 1 and a drawing border for sheet 2, and they might be slightly differently depending on what you're doing. Right, so we're in the drawing file and we're in drafting mode. So I'm now going to go into the modelling mode. I think on the basic standard settings it's in application, and then you've got modelling here. I've added it to the home tab here. So if you want to add it to the home tab, you can do a search in this piece here for model, and it should come up. What we got? Ooh, I think we went by it. There you go, modelling, and it's highlighting the top left now where it is in my home page, but you can add it by clicking here if it's not in your home page and you want to add it there. Right, so let's go into modelling environment. So we're in the modelling environment in the drawing file, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the assembly of the V-block to this drawing file. So in yours it would be on assemblies, add, and then I'd pick assembly 1. We want to do a drawing of this assembly, not individual parts. I'll show you how to do the individual parts inside the assembly. So let's go assembly. It's on absolute origin. That's okay. Right, so if you look here, we've got the drawing file, and inside the drawing file we've got the assembly file. Inside the assembly file we've got the 3 models. Right, so if you look, we've got model 1, model 2 and model 3, and they're all on a model reference set. But assembly 1 is on an entire reference set, which means if we do a drawing now of this particular item, we're going to see the coordinate system that's in this assembly, which we don't really want to see in the drawing. So we need to add a reference set to this assembly called model that doesn't contain the reference set of the assembly. But first I'm going to right click in the background and I'm going to go fit. If you want to straighten a view up, you can press the F8 key. The F8 key is quite a good key and it straightens the part up depending on what's closest. So press the F8 key, it straightens the view up. It's quite a handy shortcut. I don't use many shortcuts on the keyboard, but F8 I do use quite a bit. It's quite handy. Right, so if you see here, we've got the coordinate system in the assembly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into the assembly file. So it's in Window, Assembly 1. And in here, I'm going to create a reference set to put this assembly on. I've got the background in different colours now, so it's easy to understand in what environment or what file I'm working in. Right, so menu, format, reference sets, and I'm going to create a new reference set called model, and it's automatically put everything on there bar the coordinate system. It's all highlighted in orange. I'm just going to save that. I'm now going to go back to the V-block drawing. So I'm now in the V-block drawing. It's got assembly 1, entire part. I'm going to right click on it. So I've highlighted it, right click on it, and change the reference set. That's very odd. Shouldn't do that. It's a model. Right. So if you see now, the assembly coordinate system is gone. Let's go back to the home page. And I've also got this button, display WCS work coordinate system, so you can actually see it here, but this won't appear in the drawing, but you can also turn that off if you don't want to see it. So I've got my assembly in this drawing file, and I've got the right model reference set now. So let's go to the actual drafting mode. So we're in the right file. Let's go to the drafting mode. And now we've got the drawing border and we've got this view creation wizard because we put this in there already. I tend to cancel this and put my own views in. So here to get started we can use base view, and wherever I click it will drop a base view down, and then I can do a projected view in the other directions. Right, so here I think what I'm going to do on sheet 1, I'm going to do a 3D view on sheet 1, and I'm going to put the individual items on sheet 2 and 3. For now I think the views that I'm going to use are probably just this view here, so I'm going to delete the other views. So if you select the border and press the delete key, the ones you don't want disappear. So I'm going to keep this view for now, and I want to put a 3D view in here. There's a couple of different ways of doing it. We can save a view and then bring that view in, or we can just bring a view in on the fly. So if I go base view, in here we've got the orient view tool. So I click on here, I've got this this display here, and I can rotate it around to the view that I want. So it might be this view. There we go, something along them lines. So we'll say OK to that. And I can put this view in here and close that. So that's one way of putting this view in. Another way of putting this view in, I can actually save a view. So if we go back to the modelling environment, but inside the drawing. Now I can pick a view that I want. So for example, I might want that view there. So now I can go view, operation, right at the bottom, save as, and I can save this as a 3D view. 3D view, and it's OK. Right, so now I can go back into the drawing, so drafting, and now I can place base view And now where it says here top, I'm going to select 3D view. So 3D views appeared now here, so I can drop that view down wherever I want it and whenever I want it. And that's the view that I created in the modelling environment. I think that's the one I'm going to keep. Right, so I want to make the view a little bit bigger now. It's a bit small. So if I double click the border, this box appears. Go to general. It's got scale 1:1. Let's use 5:1. There we go. It's probably a fraction big. This particular border, I've deleted all the information that was on it originally, so I'm only using it to keep like the text height correct and things like this. Let's go for a different scale. So at the minute, the scales that are picked here are relative to the drafting standards that NX is configured with at the minute, and that's the British standard or the ISO standards at the minute that it's set to. We can change that to ASME or most of the standards are available as well. So let's go ratio. Let's put in here 4. That's better. So 4:1 is not really a recognised standard, but for what we're doing here is fine. Right, so I've got my main view. You might want to put some balloons on, item 1, 2 and 3, so we can do that in here. So we've got item balloon, and now what we can do is we can just drag it like so. Drag it. Oh. Let's zoom in a bit and drag it. Right, so we can give it some item names or numbers. I think the view block was item 1, for example. So if we double click this, we can just put a 1 in here. This was probably item 2, so I'll put a 2 in. Item 3. Item 1, 2, 3. Might want to align it. And we've also got some settings in here for the balloon sizes, so we can change the size to make it bigger if we want. Let's make it 20. 20. So that's our basic view, which looks okay. I've got this view here, and I think I'm going to put this onto sheet 2. Right, so what I want to do now is add a second and third sheet. So if we go back to the part navigator, where it's got drawing, right click, insert sheet. NX has actually got its own templates. Don't really want to use any at the minute. So I'm just going to make sure it's on A0, same as this border, so that's correct. I'm going to add another sheet as well. Insert sheet, A0, okay. So we've got sheet 1, sheet 2 and sheet 3. So to jump from sheet 1 to sheet 2 to sheet 3, we can tell this one's the active one at the minute. I can just double click it. Right, so I want to add this border to sheet 2 and sheet 3. I could cut and paste it, but I prefer to insert a part instead. So if we go on sheet 2, so we've got the border around here. We need to make sure the border we're putting on here is an A0 border. So I'm going to go File, Import, Part, give that set, pick border, OK to that, OK to that, and then cancel. So now it's put my border in. Sheet 2, sheet 3, File, Import, Part, Border. And then press cancel. If you press it again, it'll put another border on top. Right, so sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. Right, so on sheet 1 what you'd probably have is a parts list with the materials of these items, and this probably wants to go onto sheet 2. So if you see here, I'm highlighting the border, and on the left hand side it's telling me which of the views it is. So it's this view here, so I can highlight this view and I can drag it to sheet 2. So if I double click sheet 2, here's the view. So I want this view to go a bit bigger, so I double click the border, go to general and change it to, let's go to 5:1 this time. Right, so here what I want to do is I want to do a detailed drawing really of the V-block, a detailed drawing of the clamp and one of the screw. So in this instance I just want to show the V-block, not the other two items. So let's go to assemblies. There's a little drop down here, it says more, and then we've got a number of different things we can do here. You just have to be careful you press the right one. So what we want to do is hide components in view. We don't want to suppress the components, so we don't want to use suppress, we don't want to use this one. We want to use hide components in view. So I'll click on this one, comes up with this box. So I can select the components, so this screw and the clamp, select the view here, and then select the view, apply. Right, if you notice here, I've got like a little clock here, here and here. I've got two crosses here and here. NX doesn't update straight away. It lets you pick when you want to update your drawing. If you've got a large drawing, it can take quite a while to update that drawing. So the best thing is NX allows you to update it when you want. So if you made a lot of changes, you probably want to go for a coffee, then update your drawing, come back 10 minutes later and it's all updated. If it's a small drawing, it'll update quite quickly. But if it's a large drawing, lots of complicated features in it, will take a lot longer to update. And obviously depending on what computer you're running it on. So there's a number of ways we can update this. I can right click on the border and I can update this view. I can click on the clock here, I can click on the clock here, or I can click on the clock here because I know it's this view that's out of date and it would all be up to date again. I generally regenerate the drawing if it's a small drawing just by pressing this little clock. So if you look now, it's got just the V-block on its own, and the other components are hidden. So if I hide some of these lines or delete these lines, let's just delete this line here because we don't need that center line anymore. So now I've just got the V-block. Now if you do a projected view on this V-block, it'll only show the V-block itself. So let's go back to the Home tab. So now we want to go projected view, and I want to do a view probably there. That's probably enough for this V-block. We probably don't need any more views. We can get away with just putting the two views on. Right, so let's create the other views and then put the dimensions on after. So let's go on to sheet 3. We could probably get away with only two sheets probably for this particular job, but yeah, let's use 3 in this case. It doesn't really matter. Right, so let's go base view again. So it's on top. Let's see what view that is. I think we'll use that same view. Let's delete that one. What I tend to do with when I'm doing a drawing is I tend to put a few different views down first and then decide which views show the most information, which are the best views to use. What you're trying to do is minimise the number of views and use bigger views to show the information, so you've not got lots of little blow-ups. It's quite difficult to follow a drawing if you've got lots of little blow-ups. It's better picking bigger views. So I think what we'll do now is we'll have this component in this view. Let's go back to assemblies, a little drop down. Let's go hide components. So let's hide that one and that one in this view. Let's update it here. if you look, all these are now up to date. Let's just delete centre line, get rid of that for now. Right, so that's a little bit small for this drawing border. Let's make it a bit bigger. Let's go for 5:1 again. Right, so I might want to do a view looking down on top, and again this is in third angle projection. So let's go back to home, projected view. So if I do a view looking down on top, it will be there. So this is basically looking down here on this circle. Right. I also may want to do a section through here or a section through here. Let's do a section through the top. So let's go section view. Let's click the center of this. So make sure your snaps are on to pick up the center of the line or the center of the arc. And then I can place the view down. And in this view, maybe all of this is not doing a great deal. I think by default the hatching of the sections turned on, so the piece of material that's cut away is highlighted here, and this is in the background. So this is in so the section's cut through there. So if you've got a hacksaw and cut through this component and looked in this direction, the piece of material you're cutting through is from here to here, which is shown in this by these section lines, and then what's in the background here is shown here. So in this case we might want to move this up to here because it's not really shown as a great deal here. So if we double click this and then we drag this arrow up to here somewhere, and let's update this view. Update. Right, so let's do the screw. Let's go base view again. I'll probably use the same view. Let's go back to assemblies, more high components in view. Let's pick that item and that item in this view. Right, so now I've got just a screw. It's a little bit small, let's make it a bit bigger. Right, so I could even make this a lot bigger because the detail of the screw from here to here is all the same. So I could cut some of this information here out, squash it up, and then show a lot larger scale. So you sometimes want to do that if you're showing small radiuses and you can show all the detail in one view. Then let's have a go at doing that. That's the home tab. So we've got here break view. So we'll click on this view. And what it's after now, we're going to do 2 break lines, one at the start and one at the end. So we'll go from here somewhere. And then the second one, it's already jumped across the second one. So now we can select the second one here somewhere. Apply. Right, so what it's done now is broken that view and it's a lot smaller. So we can use a bigger scale now to show some of the detail and still get it on the drawing. So let's go for a bigger scale. Make sure it updates properly. Right, so it has. It's actually put a line in here. A line in here, you can't actually see it. It's the same as the background. So if we go back to the drawing and I right click on the drawing and I go monochrome, I can actually see that line here now. So when I print this, this line will show on the screen. Let's take monochrome off again. Right. Let's go back to sheet 2, sheet 1. I think I'm going to leave sheet 1 as it is. Whenever you're putting things on a view, always try and drag the view a little bit and make sure the features will go with it. You don't want the surface finishes and things to be left behind. It all needs to be associated to the view, so you can move it around and tweak the position of it slightly after the fact, like this. Sheet 2. Right, let's put a few dimensions on. So this works very similar to how we would do the sketch, as it were. So we can just go on rapid dimension. It's set on angle at the minute. It must have been the last thing I used. Let's go on inferred. From that point to that point. And we can put the dimensions in. Let's go from there to there. We can put the dimensions in. I'm just going to show a few dimensions. Let's click on there to there. So this style you can set up in your drawing board as your start part. So here we've suppressed the trailing zeros, so this would be as per the British standard dimensioning. Put a dimension across here, from here to here, and I could match it up with this one. This is basically how we would detail it up. And we can put lots of other dimensions and things on. Let's go on to sheet 2. Right, so let's stick a few dimensions on this. Let's go from there to there maybe. If you look, it puts a little gap in at the end of the dimension lines. And what you want to do is, when you print this, if you set it up correctly, the thickness of this line will be slightly thicker than this line. And if you've left a gap there, it's easy to see where the dimension line starts and where the model starts. What you don't want to do is pick the wrong points and lose this gap. So for example, if I do another dimension, I'm going to go from there to there, I'll place that down there. I've now not got the gaps that I would want. There's only a gap at this end. So that makes it more difficult to see what's going on here. Highlight the dimension and delete it. Let's put another dimension down here somewhere. Generally speaking, if I was going to detail someone else's model up, I would look at their sketch that they've used. If I didn't know what the design intent was, if I didn't know where the part was used, I'd probably try and find that out first. If you still don't know where it's used, then I'd look at their sketch and probably go for a similar method of dimension to what they've used in the sketch, if it's not your model. Right, so here we've got a diameter. So instead of inferred, I'm going to go on cylindrical, click there, and it'll put the diameter symbol straight in for me. It doesn't actually put the threads in, so you'd have to put the threads in yourself manually. There's different ways of doing that. Let's have a go at putting this one in here. So I'm going to leave it on cylindrical this time. I'm going to go from there to there. That's actually 10.3. Let's actually get rid of that a minute and put another one in. Let's go back to inferred. It's 10.3. That's because this is the tap-in drill size. So what we want here really is the thread size. So let's go back on cylindrical and let's go for the thread size. So that's it wants to say M12 and it says diameter 12 at the minute. So we'd have to edit this slightly so it's got the right information. But at least on metric, it is giving us the right size here. So it is parametric. If this altered, this size here would change with it. Right, so I need to change this. There's a number of ways of doing it. I think we can use the text editor. can click on this and let's type in M instead. So now it says M12. But you might not find the text editor or edit text, so you might need to type it in here and add the toolbar to your toolbars. By default, I don't think this one it comes out of the box as a basic setting, but you can add it and it's quite handy when you're doing drawings. Right, let's put a thickness on and line it up with this one. Now you see it's on cylindrical still, so it's got the diameter. Let's just go back to inferred. Place it there. Let's put a few on here. So here we can put the radiuses on and you can actually see it. So let's turn this inferred to radial, make sure it picks the right thing. Let's go for cylindrical, there to there maybe, down to 10. There to there. Back to inferred, there to there. I prefer normally to just use the standard settings and not type so many things in if you can get away with it. The number of ways of doing the chamfer, so I could on the chamfer just go from here to here, same way as I did on the actual sketch. So we've got 0.5 by 0.5. Or we can put in 45 degrees, for example. So let's go on for the angular one. Angular. So let's go from there to there. 45 degrees. And then we can go for 0.5 in the other direction. So this is one way of dimensioning it. This is another way of dimensioning it. You can actually type it in as well, but it's probably not my preferred way because it's not parametric. It won't update properly if the angle changes. So let's do that. So from here to here. Let's go that way. So I double click this. Let's click on this A. So we've got text location before. I want after. I can type in here by 45. Go symbols, degrees. So we can do it that way as well. Obviously this won't change if this changes in the model. So if you know the angle's not going to change in the model, this method's okay. This method is probably a bit better, or this method is more parametric, it will update better. Right, so where we've got a cut in the thread, if I do a length from here to here, the system in NX11 automatically puts the break in the dimension line to show that this is actually shown broken. So let's go for a length from, say, here to here. If you look, it's broke the dimension line there to show that this view is broken. You can put a few more diameters and things in. Cylindrical, let's go for that one. I'm not putting all the dimensions in, I'm just putting a few just to show you how it works. Right, so on sheet 1 we could have some sort of 3D view, maybe a parts list and some notes. On sheet 2 we've just got this item. I could probably get away with putting this item and the other two items on one page, and then this item, and you can draw a line in between, for example, as well, just to break the two up. Right, so some more advanced settings. So on this particular view here, we might want to get rid of these two lines here, just to make it look a little bit tidier. If we right click on the border of this particular view and go View Dependent Edit, this box appears. We can now select here, Erase Objects, and then pick the objects we want to erase. So I want just that line and just that line. Okay. Okay to that. That's got rid of the two background lines I didn't want. Then background lines here would be from this location to this location. It's showing this background here. Just looks probably a little bit tidier like that. Right, so let's go on to sheet 1. Let's try and put some sort of parts list in and a few notes. So for the notes, we can go on the note tool. For note, if I just click here, you'll just get the text without the arrow, which is what I want. If I drag, I'll get the arrow. So I click here, let's edit the text, and let's put in general notes. General notes. Underneath, we can put in number 1, part, marking, etc. 2, inspection, etc. So put all your notes in here. What you might want is the general notes to appear slightly bigger than the notes here, so it stands out a bit. Or it might want to be a bit bolder. So let's double click the notes. So to make it bolder, it's actually D in brackets, like so. And then you need to cancel the command after the fact, so it doesn't apply to the rest of the notes. So D cancels it. So if you look now, let's try that again. Let's put in D1. So D1 is the strength of how dark the notes are. D2, it would stand out even more. So let's try D2, etc. There you go. You might want a small gap in between here. So we can put a small gap in. So a small gap would be Z. Let's go for Z1. Just going to put a small gap in here. Let's try Z2. There we go. So Z2 puts a small gap in here, and we can cancel it after this line with a Z to bring the two up. We also might want to make the text of this bigger than this, so we can do that in the same area. So at the beginning I can go for a C, and a C is the height of the text, so 1.5 times the 5, for example, and then I need to cancel it after this. So let's cancel it after the notes. So that would go here, C. So the general notes will be a lot bigger, 1.5 times the rest of the notes. So we can type in the notes in this manner. And now I need to put in the parts list. So let's just put a note in, tablet note. So we've got some sort of table. So you might want reference number, number, part number probably, probably description, maybe a quantity, material, and we probably need another column saying remarks or something. Let's just move these out, make them a little bit bigger, for example. We can move it around this top, and we can also stretch them out using this. So make that a little bit bigger. That one probably needs to be a little bigger, that box. So I want to add another column in here. So if I highlight the box, what have we got? No, I don't think that's what we want. Let's highlight that again. Let's go select. Let's go columns. Let's go in the right way. Right click on it again. Insert columns to the right. So it's put in a few too many columns. I only actually wanted one. So let's just highlight this and press the delete key. Let's highlight this. Actually, let's highlight. Let's put in what we want to start with. So remarks or comments. Let's highlight that, and we should be able to delete that now. Let's go delete. There we go. So now it's got the right size that I wanted. Let's just shrink this top one a bit. Let's go. Actually, let's go the other way. Now I can put in my reference numbers, so reference number 1, number 2, number 3. We can give it a part name, whatever that's going to be. Model 1/1, model 2/2, something along these lines. Model 3/3. This could be the V block, clamp, and screw. Quantity 1, 1, 1. Let's make that box a bit bigger. I think we're going to need some more detail on some of these. So, material. Let's go for BSEN ISO 683-3, some sort of case hardening steel. BSEN 0025-2, grade S355, something along those lines. BS970 080M40. Right, so let's try and put these a bit neater. So, what have we got in here? Settings. Text alignment, we've got middle left. Let's go middle center. Close. Settings. Middle center. Close. That looks a bit better. So we've got some sort of parts list added. You can put some sort of notes in up here. And we've got the main view. So that's sheet 1. Sheet 2 got the V block, and sheet 3 we've got the clamp and screw. We can also put names in here, item 2, item 3, and split them up if you want. But that's about it. Thank you very much for watching my video.